Good morning, juniors. Happy 2 weeks till the end of the marking period, 1 week to the end of the marking period, virtual, whatever. We are now on virtual learning for 2 weeks, so welcome aboard. I'm making some small videos reviewing assignments that students frequently had trouble doing or missed. So they're frequently missed assignments. That way, in case you guys are struggling to schedule your extra help sessions, don't forget extra help every Tuesday through Friday, 1:30 to 2:40. Go to the Extra Help Google Classroom. I am there. And it will be there. Mondays are meeting days, so I had a fun meeting yesterday. It wasn't fun. It wasn't bad. I've been to worse meetings. Anyway, today we're going to go over, for the juniors, the quote integration activity that was due on December 4th in Genesis, it's marked. This activity a lot of you didn't turn in, and it's really good practice. Now, you were allowed to do it in groups of up to 3 or partners, and I still encourage you guys to work with someone, especially, if 2 of you are missing it, it'd be really good for you to work together. On this activity, there's a focus thesis at the top, and the focus thesis says Montag's self-realization, his choice to learn more and see more around him, is the most important decision of his life. The reason you have a thesis there is because if you're practicing providing quotes and then explaining them, because an explanation is part of the quoting process, you need something to explain, like connect it to. So you need a thesis. So the thesis is the thing you are explaining with each quote you provide for me. I would like you, on this activity, to provide 2 examples of each type of quotation that we've previously gone over. So 2 direct quotes, 2 embedded quotes, and 2 paraphrases. Now, everyone thinks that different quoting is its own degree of difficulty. So like some of you are going to think paraphrasing is the hardest. Some of you will think direct quoting is the hardest. It's not cheating to start with the one you find easiest. For me personally, that's paraphrase. I love paraphrase. Paraphrase becomes kind of deeply important when you're juggling more than one source. So in a paraphrase, which is the one on the bottom, you are looking at a portion of the book. So you should have the book open and be looking at a section, pulling it as though it was a quote. But instead of putting in word for word the same quote, you're turning it into your own words, and you are putting the citation at the end of it. So if I were to go, as it says on the paraphrase example, if I were to go to page 67, would I be able to find right in the book the section that I paraphrased? I would. That's how you know that it's a paraphrase as opposed to just an empty general summary. Like for this section, if I just said Montag and Beatty had an interaction or a conversation, that's too general. It's not enough information. They had conversations at several points of the book. So I wouldn't be giving enough to my reader. I need to give some more specific detail. Moving on to embedded quote, because for me, I'm sort of working backwards from most of my words to most of the author's words. So in embedded quote, most of what you are writing in the sentence is your own words, sort of like a paraphrase, except that you are pulling small, tiny sections of the quote and putting the quotation marks around them to preserve the exact language. Why would you do this? Sometimes the exact language that you're pulling from the text is important. So like in the example I'm looking at, Montag laughs and says it's against the law. So having those 2 phrases there, because laughing and having something be illegal are sort of 2 very different things. The juxtaposition of having those 2 tiny quotes shows a lot about Montag. However, most of the part of the book was an interchange with Clarice that I didn't need the specific example of. So I just paraphrased most of that and focused on the phrasing that I thought was the most important. In embedded quote, this will come up. You should choose between 1 word and up to maybe 5 if they're small words. You should not be quoting more than 5 words for embedded quotation, because then you're getting into direct quote territory. You should just be chopping a quote and using it directly. Do not use long chunks of phrasing. That's the single biggest error with embedded quotation. So they're meant to be tiny. They're not big. Now, direct quotation. I would do it last. I find it, when I'm writing, I find direct quotation to be the most boring. I know it's incredibly useful, but it's just, you introduce it, you drop the quote, you put the citation, and then you have a whole sentence of explanation afterwards. You've been doing that now for a few years, and that one should be the one that you have the most experience doing, because you did it freshman year and you did it sophomore year. So for direct quotation, just a few reminders. The narrate in, the introduction to the quote, should have a comma and be connected to the quote itself. You should have a citation at the very end of that sentence just before the period. The sentence after is the narrate out, and the narrate out should be at least as long as the quote. I usually recommend double the length because you have to analyze what's important in that quote. And the introduction, the narrate in, don't do something like on page 12. I've read this book like 19 times and I don't know what's on page 12. It's meaningless to me. So as a reader, when I see that as an introduction to a quote, I'm like, this does nothing. It doesn't help. I don't know what you're trying to introduce me to. I don't know the idea or the setting or the particular problem the character's going through. Give me some hint as to where we are in the book, then drop the quote. Because that hint about where we are in the book, is it the beginning, is it the middle, is it the end, is it before or after Clarice dies? It'll at least help your reader kind of go, okay, this is what generally is going on in the book. Assume your reader has read the book. So you don't have to go holding their hand doing basic summary. But you should remind them what part of the book they're in for the evidence you're using. Because even if someone's read the book and understands it, very few people have enough wherewithal to just like pull these giant quotes off the top of their head. So I would just be sensitive to that. In this particular assignment, I want to see 2 direct, 2 embedded, and 2 paraphrase. You can use them later in your short essay. So once you do this, you can totally pull them and put them there. So you're getting some of the work done twice. If you have any further questions, please let me know. See you.